President Bola Tinubu has condemned acts perpetrated by kidnappers across the country, declaring that individuals involved in such despicable crimes must be treated as terrorists. The president made the declaration at a Ramadan dinner with members of the federal judiciary led by the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Olukayode Ariwola. Arise News analyst Dayo Sobowale joins us now to discuss President Tinubu's call and what more the government needs to do to curb the commercialization of criminality. Good afternoon, Mr. Sobowale. Thank you so much for being here.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure being here as usual.
Now, if kidnappers are classified as terrorists, what implications could this have in terms of whether it's legal framework, prosecution, and sentencing for these crimes?
Well, it means the president of the nation is ready to confront the menace of kidnapping and banditry, especially kidnapping. And it is a very bold move. Because, before terrorism, let's call it by its name, is Islamic terrorism. But you see, if you look at kidnapping and those who kidnap, they still have some religious connection. Actually, in the Sahel, according to a report by the Institute of Peace, U.S. Institute of Peace, what they discovered was that banditry, kidnapping, they go hand in hand with artisanal mining. You get me? All over the Sahel. And those who are involved use whatever money they make from kidnapping to further their religious activities. It is not limited to the north. If you remember the creeks, the oil thievery going on there, people kidnap expatriates on the ships. We're operating in the creeks, that is there. But the one we are really talking about now, as far as I'm concerned, is the one in the north. And it is very fortuitous that yesterday, the governor of Zamfara State visited the president, and he was able to tell the president that if care is not taken, kidnappers will take over the entire north. Because it's very easy for him to say that. The rescued students were found in Zamfara and brought back. So if Zamfara has become a haven for kidnappers, government should do something about it. But you see, it is a delicate situation. But government is facing it. Now, you can see that they're consolidating the leadership of the National Security Advisor's Office. They have just appointed a national counter-terrorism force leader. Yeah. And then another commissioner, a former DIG of police in charge of small arms and things like that. So somehow the government is appreciating that the table of the National Security Advisor is full and it needs help. And we all need help in the process. So I'm happy with it. But then let us face the reality of this Islamic content of what we are up against. That is what allows a man like Gumi to feel he can say anything and still go into the custody of the security apparatus and come out saying that they treated him like a king, literally. Something is amiss. But for government to declare it kidnapping as an act of terrorism is a bold step. It was like before, when terrorism started, after 9/11. Nobody dared call it Islamic terrorism. I was a journalist then. I was queried several times until it got to a state that even Obama himself had to call it Islamic terrorism. That is the name that it is. And that is what is spreading. And kidnapping is its commercial side of it that fuels it financially.
All right, Mr. Sobowale. Yes. Now, if you remember a few years ago, specifically during the last previous administration, there was a subtle cry to have kidnappers designated as terrorists. If you remember that time, especially when they were running amok between the Kaduna...
The sentence is there.
Yes,
sentence.
so between that time and now, what has changed? And will it ordinarily improve the efforts to curtail these designated terrorists now?
You see, the designation matters. Just like the analogy I was given the other time now. People are not wanting to hurt the feelings of Muslims by terming this terrorism Islamic. But it got to a stage, it had to be stated. Just like you talk of the herdsmen farmers. For a long time, nobody could call them Fulani herdsmen until people identified them that these people were Fulanis and they were the people doing this thing. You see, I'm trying to pick my words carefully too, but some things have to be said.
Yes.
You get me? And if in a Muslim presidency, or presidency that is involved from a Muslim ticket, if this categorization can be done, it is brave. They know now that charity should begin at home. And I'm happy that Jigawa governor went there because cattle rustling and all that, they tried there. Banditry, artisanal mining, these are the avenues that we can, from your script there, that we can label as criminalization of kidnapping or commercialization of kidnapping. Yeah. So that is it. So the categorization matters. That means it's brave coming from, at long last, that has been said. So anybody who commits kidnapping now, the law is clear on what or how it should be treated. Although terrorism has many connotations and definitions. Yeah. If a freedom fighter is fighting now, you call him terrorist. This is a different ballgame. I remember, initially when 9/11 started, Al Jazeera, they did not call suicide bombers terrorists. They said they are just suicide bombers. And you know why? You couldn't call them terrorists. So this designation matters. I'm telling you. And it's a bold move on the part of government. And of course, you know, the security thing, it's not a one man, it's not a one president issue now. Chief of Defense Staff is doing his best to explain things away. Get me? And now the National Security Advisor, I mean, literally, I don't think I can sleep in any 24 hours, given what is happening. And even right now in the papers, I saw, maybe yesterday or so, a chief imam was kidnapped somewhere in Kogi State. Do you get me? So it's not as if they are fighting any particular religion. They are just lining their pocket to be able to do more kidnapping. And they should be stopped.
Absolutely.
Yes. They should be stopped.
It's unfortunate.
Well, you said that this matters, and I'm sure that it does. But Mr. Sobowale, what measures or strategies would you also recommend that should complement this approach in order to tackle the root causes of whether it's kidnapping or terrorism?
Well, there are no, you see, that is all what I've narrated now, the strategy. And it's just, I said, fortuitous that even between today and yesterday, the government consolidated its own plan by appointing counter-terrorism chief under the Office of National Security Advisor. And this governor has gone to meet the president that if they don't come on the ground in Zamfara, the destination for kidnappers, safe haven for kidnappers, Nigeria, no, the whole of the north will be taken over. Yes. So let us consolidate on that.
All right, Mr. Sobowale, yes, as you said, designation is important.
Yes.
But what about legislation and enforcement of it? How strong are laws regarding terrorism? And what you've seen so far, you know, it's one thing to have boots on the ground, but it's another to see those same individuals that have been arrested, you know, for one act of banditry and the other. Do you know how frustrating? Bring brought to book, and they're seeing them out on the streets all over again.
You see, the laws are there for kidnapping. You get me? In the north, almost the whole of the north, all of them have this. But I don't think anybody has ever been tried for kidnapping. Get me?
That's a tough one.
The law it's not as if they have made an ass of the law, but the law is there, but it's important. But then nobody has been able to say kidnappers are terrorists for obvious political and religious implications. But then this president has said the kidnappers are terrorists. Let us see how we go from there. Because in the past, it happened in Britain, US. They were talking of glorification of terrorism, and they wanted to make new laws. But they said, okay, let's use the laws we have now, so as not to be seen as being too high-handed. You know, the human rights people are always there on the sideline. You see soldiers being killed and soldiers fighting back. And they say soldiers are fighting. Whereas these are people who do not respect the rules of engagement of war. The rules of war, they do not. If you do, you won't kidnap people. You won't put people in false imprisonment. So such people should not be given the same treatment as if you are battling people in normal war, where we should respect international rules of engagement. Get me? Although a lot of disinformation goes into that. That was how the French tried to fight this Sahelian Islamic Sufism. It's a part of Islam, Wahhabism. But you see, they undermined and discredited the French effort in Mali, in Niger, that the French were killing their own people. Because the people in the environment, apart from the bias of colonialism against the French, you get me now, are not happy because of religious affinity they have. Those who are the terrorists and the kidnappers are not happy with foreigners killing them. That's why the French left. So we are on our own now. That was how 3 nations are now under military rule. And they are still fighting who? They are fighting the Islamic.
Okay, but Mr. Sobowale, former President Olusegun Obasanjo has identified unemployment as responsible for rising banditry and kidnapping in Nigeria. So in spite of the fact that this is kidnappers are supposed to be treated as terrorists, do you think that we'll get really far if unemployment is not tackled in a more significant, approach?
It's a global phenomenon. Unemployment is a global. It doesn't, because you are unemployed does not mean you should take up arms. And it's not they taking up arms anyway. You should say poor governance is more the cause of terrorism and kidnapping than unemployment. Get me? It's poor governance that has not been able to get youths engaged, that make them easy fodder for Islamists who can give them arms, give them food, and ask them to fight against their state. In fact, we had the kidnappers and the jihadists and insurgents have gone. Are areas where the government has no tentacles there. So they take over the place, coerce the people into playing ball with them, and they attack the state. That is happening not only in Nigeria, it's all over the north of West Africa. Like hardly any nation in West Africa that is from the Sahel, creeping down. And you see, food insecurity. Get me? Poverty. So it's not only unemployment, food insecurity, poverty, climatology. You get me now? The withering, the lack of water for people to feed on, to drink, the lack of grass to feed, vegetable, and sustain human life. That is why you have the coastal cities brimming with overpopulation and crime and all that. So they are all interrelated. You know? But some people are more concerned with unemployment than anything else, probably because of their age. You get me? But it is a much bigger problem than that.
All right, on that note, Mr. Dayo Sobowale, Arise News analyst, I'd like to thank you for your input on this issue. It's good to have you.